Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome Joseph. Today I am just very excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us for How Yoga Heals, Day 2. For those of you that haven't met Joseph yet, he is a pioneer in the field of yoga therapy. He's been doing yoga therapy training programs since 1993. He's also the founder of Integrative Yoga and Integrative Yoga Therapy. So I personally have been very fortunate to study with Joseph through the Integrative Yoga Therapy program for many years. So he's been a teacher to me, a mentor, and a true inspiration in my work. Joseph is also the founder and director of the Enchanted Mountain Yoga Center in Santa Catarina, Brazil, one of the largest retreat centers in South America. He's the co-author of the book Yoga Toolbox for teachers and students. If you haven't seen this, it's a miraculous resource. It's one of the most widely used materials in the teacher training programs in the US and Brazil. It's published by Integrative Yoga. And he also co-authored the book Mudras for Healing and Transformation. And there's an amazing mudra card deck that goes along with that book, which I use always. He's got an upcoming book with Karin Silberberg, Pranayama for Healing and Transformation. So Joseph is also on the faculty for Inner Peace Yoga Therapy. So welcome again, Joseph. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm excited for your presentation on mudras. I'm going to turn this right over to you.
Namaste. So I'm going to turn on my slides. Okay. Good. Are you seeing my slides okay?
Yeah, we do. We see your slides great, Joseph. And I also forgot to mention to everybody out there that we're just using the Q&A today. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and type them in. And you're also welcome just to type in a hello and tell us where you're from.
Great. So what are mudras? And we pronounce it mudras rather than mudras. So the accent is on the last day. The gestures of the hands, face, or body that promote physical health, psychological balance, and spiritual transformation. So the word mudra meaning a gesture, a seal, an attitude, or a signature. And the gestures do all of those. They seal in qualities, they cultivate attitudes, and they also are a kind of a signature of spiritual energies, different energies of the universe. And so each one has its own signature. And through the mudras, we're able to read what that signature is. And the origin of the word mood means delight, pleasure, enchantment. Rati means to bring forth. So mudras are keys that unlock our innate positive qualities, always present and waiting to be awakened. So like all of the techniques of yoga, these qualities are there waiting. They are who we are. So each mudra, for example, each mudra in our book has a core quality. So those qualities are not something that we're creating with the yoga techniques. They're in us, and the mudra is a key that unlocks those qualities. And the mudras were fully evolved in India. Of course, they exist in all different cultures and different times and places. And the question comes up, well, where did these mudras come from? So rather than talking about it, let's experience it. Let's just hold our hands upward on our laps. And let's go back about 5,000 years. And visualize ourselves as one of the ancient rishis or seers. And so these seers would enter into deep meditation. And as they move deeper and deeper into union with their inner being, then the mudras would arise to express these qualities. So in this case, the thumb, your thumb is the universal self. The index finger is the individual self. So the thumb, the universal self, Brahman, and the index finger, the individual self, Atman. And so as we move deeper and deeper into meditation, that individual self naturally rises up to meet the universal self. So let that index finger come up and meet the tip of the thumb on both hands. And then notice how this has naturally formed a circle. And so that's the circle of your true self, representing its wholeness and completeness, that nothing can be added to it and nothing can be taken away. And then the three forces of nature, Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva, the three gunas, represented by the other figures. And those are now in a state of hibernation in a way. They're inactive. And so in this state of wholeness, the three gunas are inactive, and we experience ourselves as full and complete. And so our hands have naturally formed this jnana mudra, one of the most common gestures. And let's move on. I'm just looking through my questions and answers. I've got about 100,000 hellos here. I just want to make sure there aren't any. Can't see Joseph's hands. Oh, okay. So I'm going to make sure that I always show my hands. So, and all of us, of course, know jnana mudra. So where do we first see mudras? We see mudras in all of the iconography, all of the statues, whether in stone or in wood, from Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism. And in each case, the gesture that the Buddha or the Jain deity or the Hindu deity is holding, that expresses their attitude at that time. And even in terms of the Buddha, he has so many different gestures, and each one expresses a different attitude or a different state of mind, a different state of teaching. And so let's just practice placing our hands in Anjali Mudra. So a symbol of greeting, of respect, of unity, and recognizing the potential for unity in each one. And also emphasizing that I come in peace and unity to meet all beings. And we complete that gesture with namaste. And so namaste to all of you. And let's continue our presentation. So how do the mudras work? Especially how do they work to heal? So their essential role is awakening core qualities. Each one is a signature. It expresses qualities that would take a lot of words if we were using words. And even then, those words are never going to express completely all of these different qualities which exist at psycho-emotional levels and at spiritual levels. And ultimately, these qualities are reflections of our true being. So we're using a kind of sign language to express qualities that go beyond verbal or written communication. And the names of the mudras themselves tell us what these qualities are. So when we say, well, what is that mudra supposed to do? In most cases, the name of the mudra tells us exactly what it's meant to do. Let's do a couple of those so everyone can see my hands now. And the picture is also there on the slide. So my hands are in fists with the thumbs inside, and then you can just rest them down onto your thighs. And just take a moment to experience the sensation. So rather than the name of the mudra defining what our experience is, we first sense that experience. We experience ourselves as grounded, as stable. We also experience our primordial essence. And therefore, when we go to see the name of the mudra, Adi means primordial. So in most cases, the name of the mudra will tell us exactly what it wants to offer us. Let's now place our hands in Vajra Pradama Mudra. So the fingers interlace, they form a web, and we're going to hold that web in front of the heart. And just notice your experience. Notice how the heart gently opens. Notice how you feel confidence and security. Notice at the same time how you experience stability in this posture. It's also saying that I can reach out to life. I have secure boundaries, but at the same time, I'm open. I'm reaching out to life. And then we see the name of this gesture, Vajra Pradama. It means unshakable confidence. And some are even more obvious. Some are just dead obvious. So we're going to go to this next gesture. We take the nails of the middle fingers and we press them together. Just the nails of the middle fingers. The rest of the hands are open. You can hold that in front of your heart. And just take those nails apart for a second. Notice your breath. Place the nails together and now notice your breath again. And some people ask, well, am I making myself do that just because he's told me that that's what it's going to do? Actually not. These have a very clear and definite effect. So take them apart one more time. Notice your breath. Place the nails back together. Notice your breath. And means a lengthened breath. So some of them are just really obvious. Some of them are a little less obvious in that we go through an intermediary. And that intermediary are many of the mudras have names of deities. And so we have to first see what is the quality that deity represents, that deity embodies. So this first gesture, we're going to place our hands in fists. And then we're going to touch the thumb to the index finger and the middle finger. Hands in fists, touching the thumb to the index finger and the middle finger. We can rest those onto the thighs. And then notice the sense of self-esteem, a sense of vitality, a sense of inner wealth. And then we see that the name of that gesture, Kubera, is the god of wealth, Kubera Mudra. So by looking at the archetype of that deity, that's the quality that we awaken with this gesture. You also see that in some cases, these gestures have come into our culture in a different way. So we have this gesture for money or wealth and coming directly from Kubera Mudra. And so then we're going to bring our hands into folding the fingers to the outside and just extending the middle fingers. And then holding that in front of the solar plexus. And sense the power, the energy, the vitality. And then, appropriately, we find the name of this gesture, Matangi, the goddess of power. And of course, Matang being an elephant, so it's power like a female elephant. And then the next one, Ganesha Mudra. Some of the gestures, most of the gestures are just simple and easy. And some of them do take just a little bit of practice, but we have easy ways to get into them. We're going to take our index finger of the left hand and place it behind the middle finger. We're going to take the index finger of the right hand and place it behind the middle finger. And then we're going to place the middle fingers together. We're going to interlace the little fingers and the ring fingers, and the left little finger is going to be on the bottom. And then we're going to bring the thumbs into that space, and we've formed a little elephant. So we've got its 4 legs, we've got its trunk, we've got its tusks, and we've got its brow. And so this is Ganesha, the deity of protection. Everyone get that? Let me know if you need me to do it again. And then just hold it in front of the solar plexus and sense the strength, the protection, the grounding, and with it also comes a wisdom. That broad brow, represented by your thumbs, represents Ganesha's ability to see all things with equanimity, objectivity. The trunk allows Ganesh to work both with gross objects in the material world and also with the most subtle aspects of philosophy. Receiving the effects of Ganesha Mudra. And let's move on. And then all of these core qualities, ultimately, they are all facets of who we are. They're facets of our true being. So are the middle fingers pointed up or forward? Okay, in Ganesha Mudra, the middle fingers are going to be pointed forward. So once I hold my gesture, then my middle fingers are pointed straight forward. So let me move back. Let me show my Ganesha Mudra. Okay, so the middle fingers are pointed forward. Great. Everyone see that now? Good. So, and of course, all of these gestures, they're facets of one thing. And that one thing is just you. It's just you, your true self, your innate being. And so we have so many different gestures that express that. Let's just do a couple of them. So Mandala Mudra, I'm going to make a circle with my hands. The left hand is always underneath. The left hand is always underneath because the mudras developed as a tantric art and science, and we want to pay homage to Shiva and Shakti, but to Shakti first and foremost. So I'm forming as round a circle as I can with my hands. The left hand is underneath, and I can just rest that in my lap and experience this circle of wholeness that we are as individuals and also as a whole. All of us in this presentation here together today, forming a circle of wholeness and unity. And very similar Hakini Mudra. I'm going to touch all the fingers and thumbs together. And then just hold that in front of the solar plexus. The shoulders are always back and down. Hakini, actually the goddess of the 6th chakra. So a point of command of centering for our entire being. Okay, any questions at this point? No open questions? Well, let's hope that was all really clear. Where can we get the slides? I've sent the slides. I've sent the slides already, and so everyone who's participating will get the PDF from Liz. It's available. And of course, you can get more in-depth information from the book, Mudras for Healing and Transformation. So let's just go quickly through some guidelines. Mudras are new energetic landscapes, each with its own language. So we have to approach them with awareness, patience, and respect. Most of you are yoga teachers or practitioners. And as you work with students, you're going to find that some will take a day, some will take a week, some will take a month, and some will take a year. And so for some, they'll say, well, I didn't feel anything. But once those people really start to tune in, they become your most devoted mudra students. But it can take awareness, patience, and respect. And oftentimes when people approach me with that issue, I say, take one or two that you can feel. And there's always one or two that people can feel. And start working with those. And then start building on the ones you can feel. So, and then the students will ask, well, I started to have things come up when I held that gesture. I started to cry or something like this, or I started to become angry. And should I work through that? Well, I would say eventually, yes, but initially, no. I would have the students start with gestures that are more comfortable. And then after a few weeks or a couple months, come back to that. And certainly not bad to work through that experience, but oftentimes with support, oftentimes with the yoga therapist as support. And then the person might say, well, that gesture, I felt pain with that. Should I work through it? The answer would definitely be no, from my perspective. They may want to work through that eventually, gradually, but not initially. And so the beauty of these gestures is that we can always find one. So how might someone modify and still benefit from hand mudras with thumb arthritis that makes it difficult to hold even simple gestures? Yes, people who have difficulty holding the gestures, they can just visualize their hand in that position. They can also use their body to hold the gesture. So I'll give you an example here. So this is Purnasvara Mudra. So I've got my little finger at the base of the thumb. I've got my middle finger, the middle joint of the thumb. I've got my middle finger at the top of the thumb. For people who are just starting in mudras, this can be hard to hold. And of course, we wouldn't give this for someone to start. But for us as yoga teachers, what we can do is that we can take a gesture and just rest it facing down onto the thigh, so that the thigh actually holds it in place. So those are a couple of things that we can do. We can visualize, and we can also even use the other hand to help hold a gesture. Okay, is that good? Let's go on. So one of the main things about gestures that make them so useful is that for every quality, we have a whole series of gestures. We might have half a dozen, we might have a dozen. And so this becomes really critical when you're working in a yoga therapy session, because these mudras, they have a wide range of different things. For every gesture, there's a physical effect, there's a psycho-emotional effect, there's a spiritual effect, there's an Ayurvedic effect. And so depending on the person's frame of mind, what's happening in their body, their Ayurvedic constitution, any one of a range of gestures could be more helpful for them. How are you going to know which one? You're going to ask them. So you can offer them 2 or 3 different gestures and say, which one of those felt best for you? And what did you feel in each one? And also, as we're going to see right now, although all of these gestures open the heart, the nuances of them are quite distinct. Along with opening the heart, they're going to do other things. And each one is going to open the heart in a different way. And so when we work with clients, we try out 2 or 3 and see the one that really works for them. And then are we going to choose one that makes them cry and starts to have some kind of catharsis? Eventually, maybe yes. But initially, it's going to be the one that's most comfortable for them. And after you know this client very well, the mudras certainly can be used to bring things up, but that wouldn't be the initial use. And so as we look at these, the simple question is, which one of these feels best for me today? And so the first one, Purna Hridaya, this is the one that the teenagers use on the internet. They took it from our book. They didn't give us credit, but that's okay. So Purna Hridaya Mudra, just hold it in front of the heart. And notice the experience of heart opening for you. How does that feel? And the second one is Vayu. I'm just going to tuck the bend the index finger and tuck it down with the thumb on top and rest it onto the thighs. And notice how that opens your heart. Each one will open the heart, but in a different way. Some will be more comfortable, some may be uncomfortable. And those are the ones that in a yoga therapy session, at least initially, I would use it as good information for later work, but I would certainly start with the ones that are comfortable. And then Metta Prana Kriya, I'm just going to place the tip of my index finger onto the middle joint of the thumb. The tip of the index fingers go to the middle joints of the thumbs. The other 3 fingers are out straight. And let's experience how that opens your heart. The next is Padma, and of course it looks like a lotus, and it's the gesture of the lotus, and it's held in front of your heart. So the little fingers, the thumbs and the palms are together and the other fingers are spread wide apart. Closing the eyes and noticing how that opens your heart. Some more subtle, some more at a physical level. Some starting to bring up feelings or memories as if dredging them up from the depths of the heart. And then as yoga therapists, as we develop an awareness of all these different gestures, then we'll know, for example, I know that client, I know what these gestures feel like for me, then I can choose 2 or 3 that would be appropriate for the client to sense and choose. And the last one, Kaleshvara. Kaleshvara means the Lord of Time, the ruler of time. I'm going to place the pads of the middle fingers together. I'm going to place the backs of the index fingers together. I'm going to place the pads of the thumbs together. And just as in the slide, you can see that I have formed a little heart. And I'm going to hold that heart in front of my heart, shoulders back and down. And notice how that one opens my heart. Okay. So noticing that. The question, if you have long nails unable to get fingertip to thumb, will that affect the quality? It will to some extent. So we think about the needs, about the needs of different individuals. Well, long nails is one need of that individual. And so for the person with long nails, maybe among these gestures, you're going to, right from the start, choose ones that are appropriate for them and probably leave out ones where long nails might be a hindrance. So what do little fingers, little and ring fingers do in Kaleshvara? Let's do our Kaleshvara one more time. So it's pads of the middle fingers together, backs of the index fingers, thumbs down. And these other 2 fingers, the little fingers and ring fingers, they're just relaxing. They're just hanging loose. They're just hanging out. Okay. Any other questions here before we move on? Okay. So let's look at these. There are a number of different families of mudras. This Hasta Mudras is a good way to introduce mudras for healing. And so Hasta means hands, and it serves as an introduction to the practice. And it's very simple. We're going to be just touching the tips of the little finger together, and then the tips of the ring fingers, the tips of the middle fingers. And it's one of the easiest ways to show how mudras support healing. And it says, do you recommend using these mudras at the beginning or ending of an asana class? The way that I teach asana, Rose, is that I never teach asana without a bhavana, without a quality. So every asana class that I teach is with a quality. And then I take that quality through the whole class. And I use the gesture right at the beginning, and then I take it all the way through. Let's say the bhavana that I've chosen for a class would be a self-love. And I've chosen Padma Mudra. And so right at the beginning of the class, I would share with the group, and sometimes I would ask the group for a quality. And so this quality, and sometimes depending on the group, I'll chant it in Sanskrit. And so the quality could be self-love, svaprema, svaprema. And then we could chant together, Om svaprema devaya namaha. And then I would take that gesture and that quality, and then I would choose postures that also cultivate self-love. And so for me personally, I only teach asana classes that teach a quality, that teach a bhavana. And then I use the gesture to support that quality. Is that clear, Rose? And then we've got Nancy. Is it proper to use these gestures for other things? I like the Hakini and Padma gestures for inhale and exhale. You know, you can make up just about anything you want. And Nancy is saying, well, I would like to combine the Hakini mudra and the Padma mudras for an inhale and an exhale. So that's a great idea, Nancy. So you can make these sequences in the same way that people put together postures. I mean, how many ways are there to put together a posture sequence? So I've never done this, but why not, Nancy? So you could start with Hakini mudra, and maybe a Hakini would be on your exhalation and Padma on your inhalation. So Nancy has just invented, any way you want to do it, Nancy, is fine. Nancy has just invented a mudra sequence. So we're going to call that sequence inhaling on Hakini and exhaling on Padma. We're going to call that sequence the Nancy, or any other name she would like to give it. If you've got a special name for that, Nancy, you can let us know. Where do you find the list of qualities? Great question. You find them in the back of the book, Mudras for Healing and Transformation, that you can buy from Integrative Publishing. And the website we'll see at the end. Okay, great. So let's continue. So let's go on to these gestures. And so what we're going to see here is that some people mentioned, well, what about people who can't do those complex gestures? What we're going to see here is that you can do a lot with really simple gestures. And so we're going to start with Kanishta Mudra. We're just going to put the little fingers together, only the little fingers. And those other fingers can be anywhere that's comfortable for you. And just notice how much we can do with this gesture. Notice how it opens the base of the body, the first chakra. Visualizing the 4 red petals of the first chakra. Notice how it cultivates the grounding and stability of the earth element. Notice how it directs energy downward upon a vayu on the exhalation. So a very simple gesture can be used for a wide variety of therapeutic purposes. And then if we apply this to the area of the body, base of the body, then we could apply it to incontinence, we could apply it to the prostate, we could apply it to a whole number of things. So very simple gesture can do a wide variety of things. So let's go to our second gesture, just the ring fingers, Anamika Mudra. So we know that the yoga therapy intention is going to be pelvic area, reproductive system, urinary system, and to some extent eliminatory. Cultivating the qualities of the water element like hydration and fluidity, flexibility. opening the 6 petals of Swadhisthana chakra and the ability to flow with the rhythms of life and to experience pleasure. And the pranavayu is still apana, the downward moving energy. And sensing the core quality of this gesture, self-nourishment. Sense that self-nourishment filling the entire pelvic area. Yeah. So we'll show them all by holding up my hands. So it's the one we're on now. The first one was the little fingers. And the second one is the ring fingers. And then they rest down onto the lap. Quality self-nourishment, fluidity, flowing with the rhythms of life, self-nourishment. And then the third gesture, Madhyama, is just touching the tips of the middle fingers together. And then again, where do the other fingers go? They can just curl inward any way that's comfortable for you. Notice how this naturally activates the solar plexus. And you might say, well, am I just placing my intention there? No, not at all. Even if you try to breathe somewhere else, like up into the chest, you really can't do it. You can only breathe into the solar plexus because that's where this gesture is directing breath and energy. The qualities of the fire element, tejas, warmth, energy, vitality. The opening of the 10 golden petals of Manipura chakra. Self-esteem, selfless service. Recognition of your life purpose and mission. The pranavayu is samana, that current of golden energy at the area of the solar plexus, front, back, and sides. It expands on the inhalation, relaxes on the exhalation. And we receive our core quality of balanced energy. And then the next gesture, Tarjani, just holding the tips of the index fingers together. Notice how the breath naturally goes to the chest. And then notice that you can adjust the fingers. Try something that's a little too loose. And notice the effect that's less. And then a little too tight, pressing really firmly. And notice that the effect is also lessened. And then find just the right pressure. And you'll experience the breath moving into the chest. And you'll experience the qualities of the air element. Lightness and exchange. You'll experience the 12 green petals of Anahata chakra opening and releasing with your breathing. Unconditional love, acceptance, and gratitude. And now you'll experience pranavayu, the upward movement of energy on the inhalation, moving up into the chest, heart, and lungs. And of course, this gesture in terms of therapy, working with the area of the heart and lungs, and also the thymus gland. And then finally, we'll place just the thumbs together, just the tips of the thumbs. Angushta mudra. Almost final. And notice that the breath naturally moves to the clavicles and the neck. The space element, vastness, and openness. the 16 sky blue petals of Vishuddha Chakra. Non-attachment, practice, dedication to the journey of yoga. And Udana Vayu, a movement of energy from the clavicles up into the neck, head, and senses on the inhalation. And nurturing the head, neck, and senses on the exhalation. Sense each of the senses nourished. Sense of smell, taste, sight, touch, and hearing. Sense each of the hemispheres of the brain nourished. Sense the thyroid nourished. Sense the pituitary nourished. So each of the gestures directing breath and energy into a particular area of the body, a particular element, a particular chakra, a particular pranavayu. And then let's bring our hands into Hakini Mudra. And sense all the areas of the body balanced. All 5 elements balanced. All the chakras balanced. And all the pranavayus in harmony. So with some very simple gestures, we can do a tremendous amount of yoga therapy. Okay. And we do have a question here. My sister lost her taste and smell since a head injury. Do you have any experience working with TBI? I'm going to suggest to you that that this Angushta Mudra and working with the elements, what you can do is you could actually take, Jessica, you could take each of these gestures and use the associated sense that goes with it. And we would add one more thing to this list. And you could teach this whole list, but you would add the sense. And of course, the earth element is smell, the water element is taste, the fire element is sight, the air element is touch, and the space element is hearing. So Diane, you could work with this scheme that's right here and add the senses and work with them in that way. Okay, and we have a question. I grabbed the Mudra book that I recently purchased about a month ago. Wow. Great, it's yours. There are no coincidences. No, if you have already bought our Mudra book, then you were destined to have it. So that's great. Thank you for buying that, Jessica. So any questions about this before we move on? Everyone can see how we can do a lot of yoga therapy with a few simple gestures. Okay. So I'm so excited. My apologies. Thank you. It's an honor. Here I am. Okay. Another important way that mudras work in yoga therapy is that they work directly with the autonomic nervous system. And of course, we have the sympathetic and parasympathetic response and how tied they are in, how they're tied in so extensively to the vagus nerve and all of the systems of the body. And so mudras, by creating, they can create very energizing or very calming or balancing. And so by using the gestures to balance the autonomic nervous system, it's one of the main ways that we heal through mudras. So let's experience this. We're going to start with our hands in Adi Mudra. So it's just a fist with the thumbs inside. And so this is, if you look at the energy scale, we're down at a 0. So it's, I'm not sure it'd be a 0, but it's down there on a 1 maybe. So it's very calming, very relaxing. And then we just stick the thumbs out. We're still in fist, but we stick the thumbs out, and the thumbs are pointing toward each other, resting on the thighs. And now notice that we've energized. And then just turn the thumbs up and continue to rest on the thighs, and notice that we've energized more. And then I turn the thumbs to the outside and rest the backs of the hands onto the thighs, and notice that I've energized a lot. And then let's just take that up one more notch. Place the hands into fists with the thumbs inside. And then place the hands just under the ribs with the nails up. It's called Brahma Mudra. And notice that we've energized really a lot. And also we can go in the other direction. Place the little fingers together. Place the ring fingers together. Leave the other fingers apart. Rest the hands down into the lap. It's called Dvimukham Mudra, D-V-I-M-U-K-H-A-M, and it's very relaxing. So just let yourself relax. And then release. So just to point out then that in terms of yoga therapy, by being able to modify and moderate the student's autonomic nervous system, it's a very powerful tool for healing. The question here, what energy is in the fingers in general, tense or relaxed? It's exactly that old Indian story about the violin string, right? It must be a sitar string, that if the string's too tight, it's going to break. If it's too loose, the sound will be incorrect. So let's use that as an example. Let's Let's all do Pranayama Mudra, pressing the middle fingers together. So if it's too tight, and this is for the solar plexus, digestive system. If it's too tight, we really won't feel the effect that much if I'm using too much pressure. And then make it really loose. Not as bad, but I really won't get the effect. And then play around with the fingers until you find a pressure that's just right. And where will you feel that? Not the fingers that will respond, it's the solar plexus that will respond. You'll feel the breath come alive in the solar plexus. And the same is true, for example, when we use the others. Like in the case of the Adi Mudra, if it's too tight, I won't feel the energy fully. If it's too loose, I also won't feel it fully. And then when I have just the right pressure, what am I going to feel? I'm going to feel that effect, which is the stillness and the grounding. So when you feel the maximum effect, that's the best. And do the other fingers match that tension? No, the other fingers don't match that tension. For example, here, in a certain way they do. I'm pressing on the middle fingers. I'm not going to worry too much about the other fingers, to tell you the truth, Chris. I'm going to worry about these two fingers, and I'm going to kind of just let the other fingers take care of themselves. Oh my God, I can actually feel the energy in my solar plexus when I'm doing it. So cool. Yoga newbie here clearly. Well, that's it. But it's the people who feel these gestures for the first time. They become some of the most important teachers of this method. Okay, any questions here, or can I go on? Let's go on. So when we talk about healing, we're really talking about healing at all levels of being. And so this model of the 5 koshas, at least from my perspective, it's the foundation of yoga therapy. And when we tune into these 5 koshas, then we see that the mudras can be used at all different levels. And also every single gesture has effects at different levels. So they're multidimensional, not just the mudras, but of course, all the techniques of yoga. So this model of the 5 koshas from the Taittiriya Upanishad from 3,000 years ago, really the basis for all of yoga therapy. And of course, all of the main yoga therapy schools in India also using it as their foundational model. And so we're going to experience these gestures for each of the 5 bodies. And then we're going to look at the ways that, that the mudras heal at these different levels. So the first one is Prithvi Mudra. I'm just going to touch my thumb to the tip of the ring finger. Touching my thumb to the tip of the ring finger. And resting the backs of the hands onto the lap. And sensing the Annamaya, your physical body. Notice how this gesture cultivates body awareness of each of the parts of the body. Feet, legs, pelvis, abdomen, solar plexus, chest, heart, lungs, shoulders, arms, hands, neck, and head. Coming deeply into the body and then feeling all those systems, muscles, bones, circulation, respiration, digestion, elimination, endocrine, immune, and nervous, urinary, and reproductive. Just becoming aware of all the systems of the body. And noticing how, for the yoga therapy student, how bringing them into the physical body is going to be so important. And we can honor our physical body by chanting Om, Annamaya Devaya Namaha. And that means, may this physical being, which is an aspect of the divine, be honored. Om Annamaya Devaya Namo. And then placing the hands in Vitam Mudra. So just holding the energy ball in front of the solar plexus. And experiencing the body of energy, the Pranayama kosha. Made up of chakras, of nadis, pranavayus. And today, let's just feel the chakras. Sensing 4 red petals at the base of the body, opening and releasing freely with your breathing. Allowing the opening of the pranamaya kosha with this gesture to support the opening of the chakras. And 6 orange petals within the pelvis, opening on each inhalation, relaxing on each exhalation. And 10 golden petals in the solar plexus, opening and releasing. Twelve emerald green petals in the heart, expanding and softening, opening on the inhalation, relaxing on the exhalation. 16 sky blue petals in the throat, opening on the inhalation and releasing on the exhalation. 2 violet petals in the third eye, opening and releasing. And 1,000 petals of crystal light at the crown of the head, opening infinitely. And filling your entire being with crystal light. Sensing all the energy centers opening and relaxing freely. Sensing your entire energy body, the pranamaya kosha balance. And we honor with the chant. Om pranamaya devaya namo. And then placing the hands in Vajra Pradama Mudra, a web in front of the heart. Creating the courage and energy to open to our own thoughts and feelings. The Manomaya Kosha, the psycho-emotional body. And bringing to mind a situation that evokes some mild anger for you. And just embracing that anger. Not needing to fix it or work with it in any way. Just opening and feeling and breathing. And then reflecting on a situation that evokes a small amount of fear for you. And allowing yourself to experience that fear in your body. What's the shape, color, size, texture? Opening to that experience of fear in the psycho-emotional body. And then bringing to mind an experience that creates sadness. And allow yourself to experience that sadness, opening to it, welcoming, holding it as a mother would hold a child, nurturing that emotion, allowing it to be. So at this Manomaya level, we're becoming a container of allowing, permitting, nurturing and holding, and expressing appropriately. Om Manomaya Devaya Namo. And then we'll move to the wisdom body, Vijnanamaya. We're going to place the hands in Chitta Mudra. Chitta, we use our Jnana Mudra. Everyone knows. And then we put the 2 Jnana Mudras together. And it's formed 2 eyes facing you. We hold that in front of the heart. And this allows us to see and witness all that's happening in the breath, in the energy body, in the mind, in the body. So take any of these situations that brought up fear, anger, or sadness for you. And now look at it. And with this higher wisdom, with this vijnana, allow yourself to feel the feeling. Allow yourself to see all that was or is occurring in that situation. And then notice that what you wanted to feel was not sadness or fear or loss or hurt or anger. What you wanted was something positive. You wanted love or respect or caring or acceptance, recognition, truth, justice. Notice what you wanted in that situation. And notice that you wanted it so badly because it's actually part of your very being. Allow yourself to feel that positive quality that you wanted. Notice its color, size, shape, and texture. Allow it to expand throughout your being. Not to remove what's negative, but only to see what it is that you really desire. And that at the deepest level, what you desire is you, is your very being. And through this process of discernment, of discrimination, of viveka, we began to release the limiting beliefs that cause constriction in the psycho-emotional body, cause blockage in the subtle body, and cause dis-ease, tension, and stress in the physical body. Om Vijnanamaya Devaya Namo. And then placing our hands in Hansi Mudra, we touch all the fingers to the thumbs, and then we extend the little fingers. So all the fingers are touching the thumbs, except for the little fingers, which are extended. And then that can rest down onto your thighs, or you can hold it upright. Notice that it naturally brings a smile to your lips. And this Anandamaya Kosha, these are all the inherent positive qualities of your true being that unfold as we release the limited and negative and limiting beliefs at the level of the Vijnana mind. And just allow these qualities to unfold from within you. Openness, radiance, harmony, equanimity, peace, inner knowing, a sense of I amness. As being enough as we are in ourselves. Om Anandamaya Devaya Namo. Namaste. Sharing these koshas, which form the basis of all of yoga therapy. Any questions before we move on? go to. Okay. That would be relaxing. What would be a relaxing hand mudra for Shavasana? So Faith is asking what would be a relaxing hand mudra for Shavasana. Again, it depends whether you're going to have them touch their hands or just hands at the side. But one thing you can use for Shavasana, let's say we could lie in Shavasana, we could touch the thumb to the ring finger, and that would be Prithvi Mudra, that would be grounding. So any of these gestures that I'm going to use, they can all have positive effects in Shavasana. So if we touch the thumb to the ring finger, Prithvi Mudra, that's going to be grounding. So if I touch the thumb to the little finger, a little harder to do, but can be done. So that's Jala Mudra, that's going to be the water element. So that can create fluidity and hydration. Also in Shavasana, I could touch the thumb to the tip of the index finger. And I could, of course, have the hands in Jnana Mudra as a centering. I could also bend the index finger down with the thumb on top. I could have the hands in Shavasana in Vayu Mudra. And that's going to give a sense of lightness. The person is almost going to feel like they're levitating. So all can be relaxing, and each one has its own way of working. So we have another question here. So does each individual mudra fall into one of the 5 kosha distinctions? Each of the mudras leans toward one kosha or another. So many of the mudras are a combination of koshas, but we can say that in general, the mudras will lean toward one kosha or another. Let me give you an example of that. I think it's will. So, for example, if I want something that's very physical, a mudra that's very physical, of course, we have this Prithvi. And it might be that I'm really working in yoga therapy, Will, with that person's musculoskeletal system. And so I really want some physical gestures that are really working at that Anamaya Kosha level. And yes, and I can use this Adi too. So it's just the hands and fists with the thumbs inside. So I want to work on that person's musculoskeletal system. I want to choose gestures that work more with the Anamaya Kosha. Yes, I can choose that one. And let me show you what else we can do, Will. I think we're going to come to it. But if I take this mudra, and then I extend my little fingers, and I touch those little fingers together. So hands and fists, thumbs inside, little fingers together, resting down on the lap. So I'm working on that person's back. And now I've taken that gesture that works mostly with the physical body, and I've taken awareness right into their lumbar area. So feel your lumbar now. Breathe into your lumbar. So yes, depending on the gesture, I can decide which mudra, which kosha I want to work with. I want to work more with the physical body, or I want to work more with the energy body, or I want to work more with creating discernment at the level of the Vijnanamaya Kosha, or I want to work with thoughts and feelings at the Manomaya Kosha level. Yes, they can be used in that way, Will. I have another question here. I have tinnitus. What mudra can I use to help calm this or even cure it? Well, what I would do with you, Samskara Yoga, I would first do a complete analysis. But let's just try a couple of things for the space element, and let's just see what they do for you. So just trying a couple of different things here. So let's use this Garuda Mudra. breathing softly and gently. Just let the mudra direct the breath. And then let's try one more, which is touching the thumb to the tip of the middle finger, Akasha Mudra. Tip of the thumb to the tip of the middle finger, Akasha Mudra. Also used sometimes for hearing. Again, in a real yoga therapy session, I would be looking at the whole person and not giving a gesture for a particular condition. But these are a couple of suggestions. Okay, let me know how those work for you, Samskara Yoga. And then Tara's noticing how the different gestures direct us to different parts of the body. And of course, when we go to that pinky finger, it takes us right into the low back. And again, if that feels good for you, if it brings awareness and it feels like a massage there, then that's good. And then if not, then you would not want to use it. But see how that feels for you. Mona's asking, is Shunya, it's Shunya Mudra, is that the same as Akashi Mudra? You know, these mudras, just like the pranayamas, they're part of a tradition that evolved somewhat later, evolved in the Middle Ages in India. And so the number of different names for this mudras is quite extensive. But in general, Shunya would be another name for Akashi Mudra. There's another Akashi Mudra, which is not with hands, but it's staring at the third eye point. And so there's a different kind of a gesture, Mona. So there's gestures of the hands, and then there's gestures of the face, and there's gestures of the body. But it's Shunya, S-H-U-N-Y-A. It's touching the thumb to the middle finger. It can also be called Akashi Mudra. There's another Akashi Mudra, which is a facial mudra, which is staring at the third eye point. So now I think I will go on. So let's look at some mudras for healing different dimensions of being. I'm just going to, let me just check my time here quickly. So 2:30 to 2:30 to 3:30. So looks like we're kind of running out of time already. Oh, and we're having so much fun. We could just go on for hours and hours and hours. Okay. So let's go on. So in terms of the physical body, mudras direct breath and energy to specific areas of the body, enhancing awareness, which allows us to inhabit these areas more completely. So let's look at some of these gestures that we use actually for healing specific areas of the body. We just did Anudandi. Let's repeat it one more time. Hands and fists, index fingers, little fingers extending out, touching the little fingers together, and then resting that down on the lap and noticing the massaging effect. And the next, used specifically for healing the reproductive and urinary systems, Svadhisthana Mudra. I'm going to place the right hand below the navel and the left hand facing up. A gesture for healing the reproductive and urinary systems. Right hand below the navel, left hand facing up. And feeling the healing of the entire pelvic area. And then our next gesture, interlacing the fingers to the outside, extending the index fingers up, the thumbs down, and holding that gesture onto the sternum. A gesture for healing the thymus gland and the immune system. And then the next one, the hands in fists, simply extending out the index fingers. You can hold them up or you can rest them down onto the lap. Anushasana Mudra for healing the peripheral nervous system and the circulatory system. And then bringing the hands into wings. The right hand is closer to my heart. The thumbs are interlocked. Garuda Mudra for healing the thyroid and the entire endocrine system. And then Brahma Mudra, the hands and fists held below the ribs for activating the digestive system. And you'll all be receiving information on the handout for these slides, and also information on our site and our books. And I would like to complete, I had the surgery for traumatic neck injury, placing rods, any mudra suggestions, week 12. So for people who've gone through surgery, recently, I recommend the most balancing gestures. I recommend this Hakini Mudra and the Mandala Mudra, the one we did making the circle. For recent surgery, I recommend those really balancing ones. So I would like to finish by guiding us on another use of these mudras by sensing the 8 limbs of yoga and noticing how these mudras can be a journey. And I will do this in 5 minutes. So let's begin by interlacing the fingers to the outside. And sensing how the yamas provide a support for our yoga journey. The ethical precepts, creating a basis of safety in our environment, in our relationships, in our community. And the essence of these yamas, of course, ahimsa, nonviolence. And then the niyamas, I'm going to bring all the fingers together in Hakini Mudra and the thumbs, which we already learned. And sense how these niyamas provide a roadmap for the yoga journey, beginning by purifying the mind and body, becoming content when things are working well, and also when we face challenges. Maintaining a steady practice at all moments. Looking deeply to understand the patterns that create limitation and suffering. And finally, surrendering to our inner being. The yamas and niyamas creating a basis, an environment for the practice of asana. We can interlace all the fingers and extend the little fingers out in Murti Mudra. And sense our body, our seated posture, as asana siddhi, the power of perfect asana in this moment. Steady and comfortable, allowing us to focus on our true being and to overcome all obstacles along our journey. Maintain your awareness of yamas, niyamas, and asana. As we bring our hands into Vitam Mudra, we've already learned it, holding the energy ball. And sense the whole body breathing. Completely aware of your breath in pranayama. Allowing yourself to become pranayama. Allowing yourself to become the movement of breath and prana. And then simply placing the right hand over the left, cupping the right hand over the left, creating a little empty space there in Samputa Mudra. Pratyahara. Allow the senses to be drawn inward. Sense of smell drawn inward. Taste drawn inward. Sight drawn inward. Touch drawn inward. And hearing drawn inward. Drawing deeply into your inner being. And then dharana, concentration, a gesture that we already learned. Simply just extending the index fingers. And dharana, concentration. Your object of concentration, your own body. Feeling your body from the soles of the feet to the crown of your head. Sensing yourself completely embodied. with the body as the object of your concentration. And then bringing the hands into Jnana Mudra. And entering into meditation. Body, breath, senses, and mind are like four streams that join a river and flow together. Body connected to breath, breath connected to senses, senses connected to mind, mind connected to body. Allow this stream to flow effortlessly. And sense yourself in effortless meditation, supported by mudras. And then simply turn the hands over, same gesture, Jnana Mudra, but with the hands down. And then release all cognition. That river made up of four streams. Body, breath, senses, and mind flows into an ocean of pure limitless being, and allow yourself to dissolve into that ocean in samadhi. And we'll complete with Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. And we have one final question here. How much time do we hold a mudra for best effect? That will depend so much on the mudra and the person. But we usually start out Yaima with about 5 breaths, 5 to 10 breaths, and then we work up to 5 to 10 minutes. So start out with 5 breaths, then work up to 5 to 10 minutes. And let me see if, yes. And our time is up. Thank you for this informative and excellent presentation. Thank all of you. And Liz is back with us.
Great. Thank you so much, Joseph. That was beautiful for me to be in your presence again in studentship with you. So I appreciate your teachings today. What a lovely return to some of my roots. Thank you. I do want to give you a moment just to share. I know that you have a course coming up and you also have your beautiful mudra book, and I would love for you to share that with people now if you have a chance.
Well, we have this book, Mudras for Healing and Transformation. And I think Liz is going to send out our website. Our website is iytyogatherapy.com. iytyogatherapy.com. We also have mudra cards. Within the next 6 months, we'll have our new Pranayama book. And also we have an upcoming yoga therapy course, the art and science of yoga therapy. And that's through Inner Peace Yoga Therapy, and starts at toward the end of this month, I think 23rd of February. And of course, you can find all that information on the website of Inner Peace Yoga Therapy. And we'll be doing a lot of mudras in that course. It's a 12-week course on all the basics of yoga therapy at a fairly intermediate to advanced level as well. So those of you who are already yoga teachers and yoga therapists can get a lot of information from that course.
Right, great.
If there are any final questions, I think we're okay. We've got a lot of thank yous here. Are there any scientific studies on the benefits of mudras? Well, mostly those scientific studies, they've been done with mudras together with specific chants. And really, this scientific study on mudras still remains to be done. And so someone who would like to do that study, let me know and I can be the guinea pig. I think it would be very interesting to take some of these modern scientific equipment and place the person inside performing the mudras and see blood flow and all of these other kinds of things. I think it'd be a very interesting study. And we've got a lot of different thank yous here. And so I say thank you to all of you and hope you'll be able to be with us again for the course, Art and Science of Yoga Therapy through Inner Peace Yoga Therapy, and also our wonderful mudra book and mudra cards, which you can also buy in combination.
Great. Thank you so much, Joseph. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to send all that information out to you via email. You'll get the recording. You have 3 days to watch this wonderful recording. You'll get the links to Joseph so you can find him online, and have a wonderful day.
Great. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.